Walt Disney World is more than just a place. It is a complete vacation destination where guests may stay as long as they like. And here, even a hotel is an adventure. At the Polynesian Village, there is a leisurely atmosphere of the South Seas and trade winds. The great ceremonial house dominates the scene in a setting that is lushly tropical. And for each guest, there is a feeling of coming to a tiny island in the South Pacific to stay and play.
We back, baby. We back. We back. What's going on? Welcome into another episode of the DNBA show. I'm your host every Tuesday and Thursday, Brendan Vogt. Directly above me, sounding crisp. Something sounds different about you. It's Eric Weedham, also known as D-Line Co.
You know what it is I discovered a well of self-confidence that I didn't realize I had before. So it's coming through my new mic.
It's not that you got a new mic. Yeah.
It's from the new mic. It's from the new mic. Yeah.
To the left of Eric, same equipment, hopefully new internet. It's Adam Monez. Adam, what's up, man?
Same internet as always. But I'm ready to go. I'm feeling feisty. I'm ready to go.
Oh, baby.
Below Adam, it's a fuzzy image right now, but I promise you that in HD, he's looking crisp. He's looking good. It's Harrison Wind.
God damn it. We are presented by Illegal Pete's, guys.
And we're not alone tonight as Harrison figures out his camera. We've got a special guest. We teased it earlier in the evening. It is Keith Smith, a contributor at Yahoo NBA. Keith lives just outside of Disney World, worked at Disney World for almost 20 years, and he's been all over this Disney World developing story. Keith, how's it going, man?
It's going good, man. You're leading there with the old school Disney stuff. That had me fired up.
Yeah,
we figured that'd be right up your alley.
Yeah, that was nice.
Keith, this is kind of like your time, man. You are in the middle of a very specific diagram, and it's ever relevant right now. As I mentioned earlier, you're very familiar with Disney World. You worked there. You live in the area, but also you were one of the first people to sort of float this idea of the NBA playing at Disney World, sort of out into the universe, and you've been all over the subsequent development since. So I wanted to ask you, how long has the NBA sort of been mulling this idea, and how much momentum was there behind it?
Yeah, it's kind of always been one of those little secrets that the NBA has backup plans. If there was ever anything major to happen in a city and a team couldn't return there, that they would maybe bring that team somewhere else to play and have them, take place. And Disney's always been one of the things that's kind of been, hey, this is a place we could do this, so we had to. Now, what I will say is interesting is I don't think they ever in their wildest dreams planned on let's bring all 30 teams to one place. That's
you don't think
crazy, or even 16 teams or whatever form or fashion this takes. But when we put the article out there, it published on April 16th. We heard back from the NBA that same day, just with a very nice note that said thank you for the thoughtful and thorough article, and that was the extent of it. That's the extent of what we've heard from the league so far on that. So, but even that was nice to get that little bit of a recognition piece.
I was kind of shocked when I saw it because you're right. So I didn't realize it was that early. But when I saw it, I was just like, okay, it's going to be LA, it's going to be Vegas, it's going to be these places. I never thought Disney World wasn't even on my radar. And then when I saw it, I was kind of like in the argument you sort of made, because it wasn't just the article. There was like, you had a series of tweets about it and this or that. And I'm telling you, I was like sold right away. I was kind of like, that actually makes a lot of sense. That's lots of resorts, lots of space, lots of amenities. That's the spot.
Yeah, it's Disney for me. I think back to when the season first went on pause. It was supposed to be a couple weeks, and I think we're like, all right, we'll get a little break in here and sleep like normal people for a change, and maybe do some normal people things. And then it came back as this is going to be a while. And then we started hearing things like, let's play on cruise ships, which that was instantly like, what are we doing? This is
on cruise. They're like, were you paying attention at all? Like,
yeah. been on cruises before. Like, where are we doing this?
The entire NBA has
They're like,
coronavirus.
they're like, how do we
Everyone
battle
is sick
a
and,
pandemic on a
yeah.
cruise ship?
And you can't take more than a 10-foot jumper because it hits the netting around the court. Like, I just didn't get that, right?
But they did this though. Did you guys see? Because they used to do this at college, and maybe they still do. I don't think so, but they used to have it on like an aircraft carrier.
Yeah, aircraft carrier. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, a couple times they did that, and then the second one got wiped out at halftime because the deck was too wet.
Who could have?
Didn't they play an NBA preseason game outside too in Phoenix or something?
Suns.
Yeah,
and that like
The
went
Phoenix
terribly.
Suns did.
Yeah, the tennis place, right? If I remember right. But yeah, so I went into, then they started, single side, and everybody went to Las Vegas, which makes a lot of sense. A lot of us have been there for summer league. It's a known place for that, and hotel rooms and all those things. And I started thinking, man, no, Vegas, those hotels, they're close by Thomas and Mack and the Cox Pavilion, but that's still a hike to get down there. And I really looked at it and said, Disney makes just as much sense. They have as many hotel rooms as you would need. They have the ESPN Wide World of Sports complex, which has all the basketball facilities you could ever want. And then you've got the fact that Disney's a private property. They can really shut things down, easy. And whenever I say easy, this is with relative ease, being that none of this is easy to do. But Disney can do that because of private property. They can say, this chunk of property, you're not getting in here unless you need to be in here for the NBA. And that's where it made a lot of sense to me. And I pitched it to my editor at Yahoo. Thankfully, he is part-time Orlando resident as well and knows the area quite well. And he's like, you know what, let's write it. Let's see where it comes up to. And we wrote it and published it, and it gained a little bit of traction, which has been fun.
These facilities, are they? How many courts are we talking? And how kind of close to they are to NBA quality and standards?
Yeah, so there's 3 arenas at the sports complex. Sports complex overall is about 220 acres of land out there, so it's pretty huge. It's a pretty big chunk. But there's 3 arenas on the property, and they're all very close to each other, within a couple minute walk from one to another. It's not quite Thomas and Mack where they're attached to Thomas and Mack in the Cox Pavilion, but they're really close. And the main one that I assume would be the main game court is the HP Fieldhouse. That is, it's set up to host. It hosts a college basketball tournament every year, and it's a Division I tournament. The Advocare Invitational. There's usually a handful of NCAA tournament teams in there. There's a handful of ranked teams that make that tournament each year. So that's I would assume the main game court. Think of that gym as kind of like a mid-major college gym, maybe a little high-level mid-major type gym. It seats 5,000 or so people, which doesn't matter because there's not going to be fans there anyway, right. But just to get the sense of what it looks like. Then there's another building. It's called aptly the Arena. There's no sponsor on that one yet. I imagine there might be by the time the NBA gets here.
Yeah, that's a
true.
good thought.
That'd be a great sort of naming rights opportunity for like a 1-year naming rights or something.
Exactly. Yeah. Or sell it on a month. I might buy it and put my name on it.
Yeah.
Smith Arena. That's a good one.
Yeah. By then, people will be really sick of Keith Smith.
I can't wait.
Tired of that. So it's but that one is it was interesting. That building was built to host the cheer and dance competitions, which are so huge on the youth, high school, and college levels. But that building can fit as many as 3 courts in it if you set them up kind of like AAU style side by side. But they've also set it up at times with 1 court in there to be a game court. So I think that's probably your secondary game court. So I'm thinking that you've got the HP Fieldhouse as your Thomas and Mack. You're going to put your prime games in there, and then your secondary games are going to go off to the arena. And then the third building is called the Visa Center, and that I liken it akin to a airplane hangar. It's this big, wide open, multi-purpose space. I've been in there when they've had as many as 12 to 15 basketball courts set up at a time for AAU tournaments, the Junior NBA World Championships, and I don't think you would do that for the NBA, but you could set up 6 courts in there, put partitions up, spread them out, give a little bit of privacy in there, set up a schedule, and that I assume becomes the main practice facility.
And you said it's open air. So in theory, I mean, we know that one of the risks is just still air, non-circulation in tight spaces. So that's one that if it's like an air hangar, like is it the breeze comes through and just keeps pushing fresh air into the building?
It did not. When I said that, it was more like because of the big space.
Cavernous.
It is closed off. It is closed
Gotcha.
off. I mean, I suppose they could open the doors, but it's Florida in the summertime. You're not going to want to do that. It's today was 90 degrees and it rained, and pretty typical day for us here in Florida in the middle.
Well, one question I did have was, like, obviously teams would need somewhere to practice with really whatever tournament or playoff format they go with. But I mean, from the sounds of that, there's probably ample practice space, and if not, the NBA can probably build some of these courts wherever they need to.
About.
So that does not seem to be it doesn't seem to be a big issue at all.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think they've got everything that they're going to need right there in one site. I know a lot of people have asked, like, could the Magic get involved? And if you ever watched Orlando Summer League, I think people know that Magic's practice court is attached to the Amway Center. It's on the back side. And a lot of people have said, well, that could be 2 more facilities. But if you've never been here, Walt Disney World's about 20 miles away from downtown Orlando where the Amway Center is. So that's probably not likely, because you're not going to want to expand that bubble out like that, or single site or campus, whatever the heck they want to call it now, instead of a bubble. But you're not going to want to do that. So I think everything's going to be confined right there on Disney property, because I think it's going to give them everything that they need.
So from your perspective, Keith, what are some of the biggest barriers or obstacles or challenges they might face moving to this venue?
I think the testing is still, key. We don't know what all those details are going to look like as far as how often are you going to test, what form. There was some reporting today that some of the players, they're not real big on the nasal swab testing, which I've watched those videos a couple times. That was plenty for me to know I don't ever want to do it. I don't know that why a player would want to jump at kind of getting stabbed in your brain.
I don't think anybody wants to have it
overly comfortable. Yeah, nobody wants to.
I don't think that's the idea.
And would they be like daily tests? I mean, obviously more than once, right?
That's what it sounds like. It sounds like they're going to test them when they get in, and then test them every day until they leave, and just to make sure you're kind of covering your bases as much as you need to. And then it sounds like there's going to be the ability now, without getting too much into the whole concept of testing around the country. One thing I can say, with all confidence, is here in Central Florida, testing is not an issue. You can get one here fairly easily. I know, family and friends who have had to, unfortunately, go and get. Thankfully, and knock on wood, they've all come back negative and they're all good. So I'm happy about that. But it hasn't been an issue. And our numbers here in Central Florida are also extremely low. We've been very, very fortunate that our cases have been low, our deaths have been very low, and it's a little different. I like to kind of tell people, I know, right, and I'm not originally from here, so I can laugh at the ridiculousness of the state of Florida and Florida man and all that stuff. But Central Florida is different than the rest of the state. It's not exactly what the rest of the state is like. No one's from here. This is a place that everybody kind of migrates to.
Really?
Slightly differently. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I mean, Denver's very much the same way. It's a transient city. There's a lot of people from other places, including our own Brendan Vogt. But I didn't know that about Orlando. I just I assumed it was not at all that way.
Yeah, there's a reason why sometimes the Orlando Magic can have somewhat of a casual fan base. But one of the things that can happen with them is there's not a lot of long-term diehard Orlando Magic fans, and down here in the South too, college football is king. When I first moved here from Massachusetts, first day on sports radio, they were talking about Florida State's third-string offensive tackle depth. And I was like, nobody at home knows who BC's quarterback is. Never mind.
It's sounding a lot like Denver here. It's starting to sound eerily familiar.
And I was like, what are we doing? And then it'd be like, oh, yeah, and the Magic are in the playoffs. And it was like, so it was just kind of funny. So just the way it works out. But it is, and then the Orlando City soccer team, because they were new, they became the team that all these people like myself that moved in that were like, hey, we don't have a soccer team that we followed. And everybody got really behind them. And it's all those years when the Magic were really bad, the Magic were just something kind of fun to do in the months between football season and the soccer season kicking off. And it took the Magic getting good over the last, or decent, I guess, over the last years. Really kind of win. Yeah, and good maybe was a
Keith, what do you know about Disney World's side of this insofar as how prepared they might be, what their timeline is in terms of reopening their parks and how that might, interfere with what the NBA wants to do?
Sure. So this is where the weird Venn diagram. I know more about the Disney side of this than I think the NBA side, which is a little weird because I quit Disney to do the NBA
That's so
stuff.
funny.
But it is, the Disney side. What I can tell you is they're very prepared. They've already started working on some of the potential lodging spaces to get them set up for what the NBA might need. Clearly, the NBA has different needs. Players aren't an average of 6 feet tall. So you've got to get some maybe different furnishings in there and get things set up for them. So they're already working on that, reconfiguring some of the spaces. As far as the parks reopening today, actually, Disney just announced that tomorrow they will submit their reopening plans to the Central Florida Task Force. So Walt Disney World is really big. It's 39 square miles. So that's for reference, that's twice the size of Manhattan, or roughly the same size as San Francisco. To put it in maybe better frame, which helps me because I don't know how big San Francisco is. I live on one end of the property. To get to the other end of the property is about a 20 to 25-minute car ride with no traffic.
Are you kidding?
Wow. Yeah,
is there stuff the entire way?
Pretty close. There's 34 resorts on property, 28 owned and operated by Disney. There's 4 theme parks, 2 water parks, and then there's the Disney Springs, which is the retail and dining area, and then the ESPN Wide World of Sports. There's also we like to say 99 holes of golf on property because there's several full 18-hole courses and then one 9-hole course on property, and then there's clearly all the administrative and maintenance things you need to have to keep all those places running. So it's pretty big. I know maybe on the West Coast, I know you guys aren't on the coast, but western side of the country, maybe people are a little more familiar with Disneyland. You could fit the entirety of the Disneyland resort in the Magic Kingdom's parking lot and park, to give a sense of the size.
Wow.
Take a suck of that, California.
It's much, much bigger. Yeah, they like to say, well, Walt made Disneyland first, so it was special to him. And we like to say on this side, well, Walt realized all the mistakes he made. So, but yeah, it was, I completely forgot what we were talking about because I got all
No, yeah.
I actually, as an aside, because we're on this topic, I'm going to ask a personal question.
Sure.
What's the best age to take 2 daughters to Disney World?
I would say anytime from the time they're able to kind of walk on their own and not have to be fully carried around and in a stroller. A lot of people will say don't bring them when they're 2 or 3 because they won't remember it.
Yeah,
that's not true. We had friends who brought their daughter just before she turned 2, and she still talks about things from that trip, even though she couldn't really talk when they were there. She clearly remembers things. And our daughter she just turned 10 in May. Now she's grown up with it. It's kind of her backyard. That's her playground where we take her. But she
it's a good backyard.
Loved it for forever. She will go. Right now she's in a Harry Potter phase, so she'd much rather go to Universal
baby.
Instead of Disney, but she'll still go to Disney quite a bit. But yeah, I would definitely. I don't know what age your girls are, but
5 and 3.
Oh yeah,
we're holding off, but I think as soon as it reopens and the world goes back, I think it's time.
We're going to lose so many basketball players who are just wandering 40 acres of Disney.
Thank you, Eric. You just brought us back to our question, which was how might it sounded like, Keith, one thing you were saying was there's enough space here, literally enough space for Disney World to sort of phase things in and not sort of step on
that was what we were talking about. Yeah, thanks. Bring it back around. That's why you're running things.
That's right.
Hold on on that, Kill. Hold on that comment. Hold on. Trust me, we're gonna get to that later. And I'm telling you, that's why I'm feeling feisty, but I'm gonna stick on this for a second.
Sorry, go ahead.
So what I will say is Disney, they submitted their reopening plans, but it's likely to be a slow phased reopening for Disney. Only one Disney park has opened worldwide. That's Shanghai. And that opened about a week or so ago, week and a half ago. And all eyes in the company, really all eyes in the theme park world have been on Shanghai, understanding what does it look like to make people wear masks and temperature checks and social distance within the parks and disinfect ride vehicles as you're doing your operating day, and how do you serve food viewed differently in this new world. So Disney's really taking the slow approach. They're really cautious of that. The company kind of has this 4 keys motto, and their number one key is always safety. That's the number one most important thing. You never want to see anybody get hurt or, of course, ill while they're at Walt Disney World. So they're going to be really cautious. Now, with 4 parks, I would say they're going to open probably just the Magic Kingdom initially. See how that goes. And other big chunk of that is there's not going to be the guest volume. People aren't going to pick up and travel. On an average day in July, when it looks like the parks will be back up and running, if it was a normal year without any of this stuff going on, Magic Kingdom would go through 60 to 70,000 guests a day. I would say now they're going to limit that down to 30 or 40,000. To that'll be it'll be about half that. They'll do half the capacity and go. And now you know why, if you're watching or you guys are listening here, why you wait in lines for hours to ride things, because that's how many people are crammed into these places. So they're going to do that. They're going to do a slow phased reopening. And Magic Kingdom would be first because that's the main park here. That's the one the most people hit. It is almost exactly opposite on the property. If anybody's really interested, you can look on my Twitter. You don't have to scroll back too far. You can see I put up a couple maps. One's a property map with kind of all the Disney things laid out on it, and then another is an overlay of the property over Manhattan, maybe to try to give a sense to the size with that. So, look at that, man! You guys are on the ball.
What incredible!
We're not messing around here. We're not messing around here, Keith.
Man, this is awesome. So you can look all the way down at the bottom. I was about to point at the screen like an idiot, like anybody would be.
Go back. Go back, Kel.
Flip back one, if you could. All the way at the bottom. Go down a little bit. Up a little bit more, right in the middle, that green block. That's the sports complex. And then the castle all the way at the top is the Magic Kingdom. And those are almost as far apart from each other as you can get. So I don't think you're going to have any risk of overlap. On the sports complex, too, you can kind of tell a little bit that there's a roadway down into it. That roadway is about a quarter mile long or so down into the sports complex. So they're going to have security right out at the front. They're not going to let anybody get near that place. If they don't need to be. And then the hotels all have their own, there's really one way in, one way out, and they'll have security at all those entrances. And the Disney folks have told me as well that they will get additional assistance from Orange County and Osceola County sheriffs. Those are the 2 counties the Disney property straddles because it's so big. But they'll get any additional assistance from those folks as they need to kind of police things and keep it under order, which is not an uncommon thing. With the way Disney does things.
What I want to know about amenity or about hotels and stuff. So, do you like?
Is this for you and your daughters again? First off,
I'm done with the questions. Those have been sufficiently answered.
Valuable time.
You got my email. You can hit me up.
No, but I'm so for real. But I'm so curious though because we talk about like what's this going to look like on the court and the quiet music and everything, but I think it's weird just imagining players living next to each other while competing against each other. I mean, there's people talk about the league being buddy-buddy, and it is in some degrees, but like Game 7, tight playoff series, and you're on like a floor below the guy. Is that how it's going to work? The same hotel, and you're like passing each other in the cafeteria?
Yeah, well, I like to think about what happens in Game 6. Somebody takes someone out with a flagrant foul, and then they see him at the pool 5 minutes later. At the hotel, somebody they tossed in and
whip him with a noodle.
Yeah, right. I don't know exactly how they're gonna, structure. What I've been told is the goal is to kind of keep the teams in the same general vicinity, but a little separated so that they have their own space. It's looking like I put on my Disney detective hat. I guess for the Disney fans in the world in here, that makes
looks
me
like a literal detective.
Right? So right. And I went searching to see what's going on with the hotels, and the Coronado Springs Resort came up. You can't book it in the entire month of July. There's no availability to book. Coronado Springs is Disney's prime convention hotel at Walt Disney World. They just opened less than a year ago. It's called the Grand Destino Tower. It's a big giant tower. It kind of rivals almost anything in Las Vegas as far as the way it's set up and the amenities in there and how nice the rooms are. They're trying to attract that high-end convention business. So they've just built that, and then there's thousands of other rooms just on the Coronado Springs property. And they're all kind of set. That is, they keep talking about campus style as well. That resort is set up campus style. It's not one big big building. It's the tower is one building. Then there's several other outer buildings all spread across a big central lagoon. You can rent boats. The lagoon is enclosed right there, so you can rent boats and sit around. There's a big pool. There's
Just
walking,
think about this, though.
jogging
Hold on
trails.
for a second. Sorry, Keith, to cut you off. But just think about the situation we have here, where we have a competitive playoff series, and LeBron looks out, his window, and he sees Kyle Kuzma on the paddle boat.
In a paddle boat, right?
Yeah, and it's just like, I mean, there's so many just hilarious scenarios here where it's like,
Can
I
you
was thinking about
trade
this.
someone in the playoffs?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm Googling it. And also, like,
I like the idea of LeBron and Giannis are out there together, and people are like, "That's tampering."
You just hit on something real, I think.
Or just lines of banana boats, one after the next.
No, but also there's the idea of like, we've heard of stories of teams in the past that have like, they tried to like keep them up all night or something, and they put people there. Think about this: if LeBron is looking there, he's like, "Look, Jared Dudley, we're probably not going to play Game 6. Let's just be honest. So if you could go and just make a lot of noise outside of floor number 8,
we'll have
that'd be great for us.
We'll have like the pizza party game and the paddleboard game, like the sunburn game.
But it does sound like they'll be in close proximity to each other. I mean,
yeah, they're going to have to be. There's not a way I think you can do anything as far as keeping them completely apart. Now, I will say, too, the other piece of that with Coronado Springs, which lends me to believe this may be the housing hub for the players, is I said it's the main convention hotel. There's 220 square feet of convention space attached to that. It's the largest outside of Las Vegas in the United States. And I believe the plan there is they can turn that into media rooms, film rooms. They can, if you've ever been in a big convention space, they can configure those walls in there however they need to. They can make those into dining areas, and then they could even make them into like workout areas if they need to. Small, more like weightlifting and treadmills and the like, and those kind of things that the players need that there, because they'll have the basketball facilities at the sports complex. But if they need some of those other workout things, that can be done right there at the Coronado Springs Resort and then go. And that's something I think they're going to be looking at to try and figure out how to do this. And it would just make a lot of sense. It's also a pretty isolated resort. It's not very close to a lot of other things. And it's a pretty straight shot to the sports complex as well. So just kind of putting things together there, I think that could be where the players are going.
What about food and amenities? I mean, are there if players have to be here for 2 months, as much as we want to picture them only working out and studying film and everything else, I mean, they might need to watch a movie. They might need to get some.
They can golf,
play a little golf.
99 holes, I've heard.
What can they do to keep themselves sane for 2 months?
Yeah, I think on the food side, Disney's going to take that and run with it. They'll feed them. If you've been to Walt Disney World, the food's fantastic. They'll get them whatever it is that they need there, and they'll take care of them and make sure from that side, especially Coronado, again, it's a convention resort. They'll make sure that they get the good stuff in there that they need. And we know the NBA players come with different diets and those kind of things, but Disney will work with the NBA to get whatever it is that they need. As far as amenities go in the hotels, there's always, multiple pools at all these hotels. There's always like one big, they always call it the feature pool. That one's got like a water slide and all sorts of stuff. And then there's always what they call quiet pools, which are smaller pools that are in places not really meant, more just for kind of hanging out. Then the Coronado Springs has a health club attached to it, also has a spa attached to it if they need be. And I know Disney, one of the things that they love to do is they'll bring out almost every night of the week or every other night of the week in the hotels, they bring out these gigantic inflatable screens and they'll show movies on there and the like for whoever. And I will tell you,
Space Jam 2 showing every night at 8 p.m.
Come back, guys. Come back. Forget the Last Dance. We're watching Space Jam 2.
I will say, with Disney too, the shelter in place concept is not foreign to Disney doing this. Unfortunately, one of the parts of being in Central Florida is we get hurricanes here. Whenever we do that, you can't send the guests home So what happens is the guests go back to their hotels and everybody stays in their hotel for 1, 2, 3 days, however long it takes to pass. And what Disney does is the employees stay right there with them, because you're going to take care of them the entire time. So that's not a new concept for anybody who works here, the cast members. That's Disney lingo for employee. And then what they'll do too is they'll bring in all sorts of entertainment, all sorts of games. They'll bring characters in and the like. And if the players are bringing their families, Disney will go all out to make sure that families are entertained and taken care of, while the players are kind of getting back to work and doing their thing on the court.
So Keith, if we can just grab you for a few more minutes of your time, brother.
Whatever you guys need. It's already past my bedtime, my quarantine bedtime here on the East Coast. So you got me as long as you need me.
This is such great stuff, Keith. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, we're
really
of course.
Great. No, yeah. Like I said, I think I said it off air. This is the weirdest Venn diagram of my life. So I'm happy to answer these questions and do this.
So we've seen the league sort of kick around a lot of different ideas for a potential restart, and these are sort of tweaks to the format, tweaks to the structure. To your knowledge, or just your thinking, what are some of the priorities or the ideas behind the decision making for the league right now? What do they need to get done? What are they trying to get done? And in your eyes, what's the best way to do this thing, man?
Yeah, so I'll tell you what I know from talking to folks in the league. Adam Silver is very passionate about crowning a champion at the end that ran the somewhat, at least traditional gauntlet of the NBA playoffs. That's why he rejected out of hand almost immediately any form of single elimination tournament. Does not believe that crowns a true champion, as far as the best team wins. So they want to have something that resembles the normal playoffs in terms of lengths of series and those kind of things. So if there's going to be anything that they may do 5 games in the first round or something like that. But if there was going to be anything that was all the series were going to be best of 3 or anything like that, I don't think this would be moving forward. What they want to do ideally is they would love to find out a way to get the teams back and get to that 70 game marker. That's such a key milestone. If they could pull that off. Now that's starting to look less and less likely as we get closer to this. I think time is just becoming a factor. But for anybody who doesn't know, the reason why they want to get there is that satisfies the vast majority of the regional sports network contracts. Then they've hit the marker that they had to hit, and that brings a lot more money back into the league that they may not have otherwise. And for a league that's going to be revenue poor in a sense for at least the remainder of this year, a big chunk of next year, they're planning to be without fans or very reduced capacity of fans. That's going to be something that they are really focused on, is how much money can they get in now. So that's what they'd like to do. But it sounded like they're starting to realize, there's been enough pushback of why are we going to bring the Warriors, who are the worst team in the league? They're not playing to their stars. Why are we going to make them come? Now, I will tell you that I talked to a player. He's not on the Warriors, but he's on a different team, who is in his first year in the league. He's on a 1-year contract, and he said, and he's on a non-playoff team, no chance. And what he told me was, this might be my only year in the league. Yeah. I want as much money as I can make out of this. I want to come back and play. And there's a sense of a rising tide lifts all boats. So if you bring everybody back, it helps everybody get more. And one thing I think that has always been kind of neat about the NBA is the players, as hard as they'll go at it on the court, and they are pretty unified in trying to make sure that they take care of each other. I always think back to guys like LeBron and Chris Paul and that, saying, I'm not going to do less than a max deal, because if I do it, then the owners can say, LeBron did it, everybody should do it.
Right.
Something that these guys, they try to take care of everybody as best they can. So I think that's something that we're really, going to have to see them, really do that. I like what Adam Silver said, though. He's very honest of someone's going to be unhappy. Whether that means they have to play and they didn't want to, or they're going to be cut out and feel like Damian Lillard. Yeah, and Damian Lillard, right? And now that one, I'm not going to overreact to that, because I think, I don't know what his mindset was when he was asked. I think about when LeBron said, I won't play if there's not fans, right? And then he backtracked off that a couple days later and was saying that was a heat of the moment. I don't know if that's where Damian Lillard was, but I also get it if he's understanding, if I have no shot at the playoffs, why am I going to put myself in that position? I don't know that I feel like going out there to do that. So I do think it's going to be really interesting how they come. Now, to the last part of your question, and then I'll shut up and let you guys talk on your own show.
You're kidding, please. The floor is
what
yours.
should they do is I'm leaning towards if you got to do some form of ramp up, because I don't want to see just go right to the playoffs.
Yeah,
Really sloppy and awful and a mess. So we
terrible.
could see some form of ramp up. I wouldn't mind seeing those teams in the West that were 3.5 games out get a shot at getting back in to the playoff mix. So if you got to do something there where you can work that. But I was for a while I was on the 1-16 training of seeding. I was like, yeah, that could be kind of fun. And then the more I thought about it is, it's already so weird. Let's just do what we normally do. Get back there, play the Southeast West. It's not like most years when we're all screaming 1-16 is the way it should be. It's because there's 2 or 3 West teams that didn't make it that would have made it in the East. And that's not the case this year. The 8 teams on each side are the 8 teams. So, I'm really kind of thinking through it of this just feels like to me, let's get there, do some form of get everybody ready, ramped up. Those playoff teams probably treat it more like a preseason game, if anything else, and then get into the playoffs, East and West brackets and do what we do. And it's funny, I talked to someone from the league today who said, man, all this stuff out there today, and his point that he was making is we're listening to everything.
Right. Sure,
we have not taken a single proposal off the table. We're really going through all this. We're going to figure that out. But what he said to me is, he goes, when I'm asked, he goes, what I've told my bosses is, there's already enough to do to figure this out. Why do we get to add a whole nother thing on top of it? Let's just make one thing about this a little easier.
That's what confused me most about this process. Obviously, you would have to consider some tweak to the end of the regular season, but why the playoffs? Why complicate this? I guess I'm wondering, maybe they view it, if this is going to be viewed as an asterisk or throwaway season, why not sort of get experimental with it?
Yeah, but I don't like that, because I
Makes
first of all, I hate the
culture
idea of an
after.
asterisk, but the more little things you introduce into it, the more people kind of have a leg
Right.
to stand on, where they're like,
Absolutely.
this is all
Yeah.
ridiculous. So
Yeah.
that's my biggest complaint. But we have a great question here from YouTube that I want to ask. Could the other playoff teams be able to attend the other playoff games on off nights? I haven't seen this. We've seen, I felt like I've seen every question. I haven't thought about this or seen this one. That's a great one. Do you have any insight on that, Keith?
Yeah, I've been asked that a couple times on different things, and my answer is, maybe. Where we see, if you've been to summer league or watched on TV, you see players are in there all the time watching other teams' games and the like, and we hear all the time. What do these guys tell us they do on their off nights? They watch League Pass, or on the off nights in the playoffs, they watch the other playoff games. So my thing would be, why not? They're in there, they're quarantined, they're safe. Let them go to the games. If it's some semblance of noise in there, and plus, I would love to see a team in there, rooting on the 8 seed,
Love it.
Love it.
1 seed.
That'd
That'd
be
be
so cool.
great. I know
I know there's not going to be a ton of media, but imagine just like a little courtside interview with LeBron as the Clippers are playing, and just a little like, LeBron, what are you seeing out there tonight? I mean, just you could, if we're going to lean into this, like we need to make up revenue and we want this to be fun and like was taken seriously. Let's do it. Let's push all of the chips forward on making this the most interesting and unique, but still competitive experience.
It would also be amazing if you could hear like Paul George specifically booing from the stands. Or, like,
he's like booing OKC. That'd be pretty funny. You know what? It's related to that. So this is, I also think, a pretty cool idea. This was floated as someone on the Disney side to me, but Disney's also in negotiations with MLS of having them on property to do some form of tournament-ish type thing there. Look at that. The question popped right up. Disney can bid, to answer the questions that I asked, is 100% they can host both, and they are planning to host both. The sports complex where the MLS team would play, like I said, it's 200 plus acres out there. So it's massive. I've been out there for soccer tournaments with my daughter, and if you told me there was 100 fields, I'd be like, okay, sure. I'm not going to tell you. There's just plenty of room out there, and then hotel space isn't an issue. And one of the things that I've heard talked about is if you quarantine them all somewhat together so that they're all together in roughly the same place, I think what you could ultimately see there is what the Disney person floated me is, why not let the NBA players go to the MLS games and let the MLS players go to the NBA games? And, that's at least some semblance of a crowd. And I really couldn't find any fault with that, because if you're all quarantined in the same area, why not go for it?
Hey, anything to add to the atmosphere? Because to me, that's the biggest question mark, and the thing I'm, most reserved about. I'm going to take anything we get, and I'm going to love it, but I don't even know if I can sort of visualize what a playoff environment would look like without fans and without that noise.
Yeah, you know what's funny is I know there's been all this talk they're going to pipe in crowd noise and the like, or they're going to do that. I'll tell you what I was, we've seen that if you've watched any of the Bundesliga that's been on TV now that they're back, they're doing that. But one of the things that I learned, I forget, it was maybe it was Mark Stein or somebody tweeted it, and then somebody responded from Germany. He was like, I'm actually one of the sound engineers. It's not being played in the stadium. The players can't hear that. Yeah, that's only on the broadcast. So my thing is like, yeah, I do know that one of the things that was told to the NBA broadcast teams was that they need to be prepared to talk more and fill more of the conversation, because you can't really, there's no point where you can pause and let the crowd do the talking for you.
I really hope they didn't tell Jeff Van Gundy that.
Ramp up the talking.
Unless Jeff wants to come on the show.
I know. In which case.
But I'll tell you, it was that was interesting. And one of the things that they said though was, someone from the NBA said, I think it'll sound a lot like if you ever watched Orlando Summer League. You couldn't hear everything on the court, but you could hear a lot more because there were no fans at Orlando. It was closed to only NBA personnel, media, and then agents and scouts. So I think that's going to be what it sounds a lot more like. You might be able to hear the things like "get out on him" or "let him shoot" or those kind of things. Hear a lot of hedge, ice, and all that stuff that they scream. But the other thing I was told is the mic up thing. That's the players are pretty against it. I like to laugh and think of LeBron James is out there cussing somebody out, and they say, "And come to Space Jam too." It's like,
right. Yeah.
And then the coaches, that's the big one. The coaches are like, no, we're not. I don't want that. And if when they go into the huddle on games, just if anybody doesn't know, they're going in there, and it's always it's rebound, get back on defense, play tough. We've got this. Like, you never hear like, hey, we're gonna run this action and we'll shade this guy here. They don't allow that stuff to get through. But I for me, I would hope they just embrace the sounds of the game as much as possible.
It's just the one sad thing is that Kevin Garnett is not in the league anymore. We wouldn't get his play-by-play of.
Yeah, I was going to say, unfortunately, I think the league's going to work very hard to make sure we don't hear anything from the court. But listen, if you caught this show, if you're listening to this podcast, you were lucky to get a lot of information, hear a lot from Keith tonight.
This was incredible. Honestly, I've listened to so much content on this idea, and this is to me is it's rare that I get new info, and I got 20 pieces of new info.
I'm just gonna re-listen to this and write notes.
You just needed to bring the Disney guy on. That's all. No
kidding, dude. Seriously. Thanks so much for taking the time, Keith. It was great talking to you, brother.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Y'all stay safe. You and yours.
You too, man. Wayne, do you want to take us into a read here, brother? I think you know how to do your job. I don't know why.
Yeah, let's see what we got here. I'm still hung up on the prospects that Jimmy Butler sitting courtside talking trash to his ex-76er teammates. Still hung up on that. Would that not be incredible?
It would be, man.
Guys, yeah, it would be awesome. At Green Mountain Dental, guys. If you guys go to Green Mountain Dental right now,
delay it. I'm gonna make this read impossible for him. Go for it, Will.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
You're talking over me, so I don't know if you can hear me.
I am from the future. I can tell you what the future holds. 2 seconds in the future.
All right, let me know when you guys want me to go, and I'll go.
So where did you go a minute ago?
You're so over this.
If you schedule a cleaning, x-ray, and exam at Green Mountain Dental Group, they'll give you a free Sonicare toothbrush. They're located just 15 minutes from downtown Denver. They're open. Everything's open or opening up right now. If you get a cleaning, x-ray, and exam at Green Mountain Dental Group, remember, they will hook you up with a free Sonicare toothbrush. We are opening.
Tomorrow at 4, right, Eric?
Let's go. I was gonna share. But yes, tomorrow 4 o'clock. Absolutely.
Also, guys, you can get 20% off StravaCraft Coffee online. StravaCraftCoffee.com. When you use the promo code DNVR20, I don't know, there's just something different about StravaCraft Coffee. Different than that regular cup of Joe.
I think it's the CBD.
It is. It's the thing that they do differently.
I think it's the delicate roast. And the CBD. Also the CBD. Yeah.
Well, it is packed with CBD. Purchase it for 20% off when you use the code DNVR20.
Cool.
Is that it?
Great. Awesome.
Let's go!
Vote is still checking, like, I don't know, his Instagram.
Me? No, I was messaging our guest. I was saying thank you. It's good manners.
Keith was awesome, man. That was. I had high hopes for that interview, and they far exceeded the hopes. That was an absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
Man,
I feel like I know everything about Disney World. I feel like I know everything about the NBA, which is amazing. Like I don't feel like I know everything about anything except for this.
I mainly just wanted advice on when to take my daughters.
I was going to say,
got
you
exactly
were definitely
what I wanted.
you're like Coronado, eh? Like they have
okay, writing it down,
silent
yeah.
pools. All
It was
right.
like the one question I wanted to ask Keith. Like I really wanted that answer, and Anna goes, "Hold on, personal aside though." On my own time.
I'm telling you, I'm 100% hitting Keith up when I go to Disney World with my girls, which will happen at some point. And he's gonna help me plan the perfect trip. Can't wait.
So, guys, outside of Disney World related news, that something happened today on the internet. Some Denver Nuggets fans got upset on the internet,
boy.
and I was one of them.
Boy.
That's a good joke, but I'm 5'6.5", so I've gotten on every ride for the last 6 years.
Anyone listening to this has a podcast. The comment,
Ladies
I
and
just want
gentlemen, we got him.
I'm tiny.
Got him, Bucks.
I'm aware
Bucket
of it.
says you can take vote, but he might not be able to allow. Oh goddamn! He might not be allowed on all the rides. He's too short. Goddamn it! Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know if we have this tweet ready to pull up, Kel, so I might be throwing you under the bus as I prompt you to do
Sweet,
this.
let's do
but
it.
Let's do it.
Much
No
like
man's safe.
our exercise in a recent podcast where we attempted to figure out the best players in the NBA in the year 2025, a group of NBA reporters and credentialed writers at The Athletic decided to do a list of their own. Does anyone want to take a guess of where Jokic was on this list?
Well,
He had to
they-
have been top 5.
they
think,
just
right?
like we did.
They picked 30 players.
Right.
Oh, okay. So
but
wasn't
we're
the top
homers.
10.
We're
It wasn't the
homers,
top-
so...
you
It
know
wasn't
what?
the top 10.
We are
it was the
homers.
top 30.
I'm gonna say top 7. He was easily one of the top 7.
Top 7? You
Yeah.
think
Well,
so?
yeah,
but
he
no.
was recently first team NBA, so
That's
you
a
gotta,
good point.
You
And
got to
he's pretty
extrapolate.
No, he's young, right? Any
And he
injury
also, like,
concerns?
fits with every goddamn player in the NBA, right? Like every player he's ever played with is great. With him.
Yeah, he's not really been very injury prone at all. Like he's had a
that's a good
couple.
point.
He's sort of an Iron Man as far as the NBA is concerned. So I would say no lower than
You can leave that on
number
there
one.
a little bit
Number
longer
one.
if you want to, Kale. That's fine. I'm not.
He'd definitely be ahead of Kristaps Porzingis, right?
Well, I mean, come on.
Bigger than you show.
I mean, these are credentialed writers. Nope, he was not on the list, guys. He was not on the list at all.
He was
At
not
all.
even picked.
So I
Is he
don't
even
know.
in the NBA in 5 years?
Yeah,
That's the hypothesis: is that no, he's not.
He's
I think
not
that's the
in
only way
NBA.
that you can justify that to yourself.
I was worried that picking him third was too pro Nuggets.
We did this exact exercise a week ago.
I feel confident.
Maybe where they got the goddamn idea.
Wait, did you see the
really
rationale?
upset. I'm not gonna lie. This is
I know.
ridiculous. And actually, I'm actually not really upset because I'm just so like.
Because we're adults.
And also because like we've just been through this now for 5 years, where people are like,
This is the
Jokic is the first team All NBA center and averaged 28, 15, and 12 in the playoffs. But is he good? Like whatever.
Did you see the rationale that they offered as to
No, let
why
me hear it.
he didn't
Let me
make
hear it.
30 in the year 2025?
Well, they would be worried that Jokic at that point, 5 years from now, would weigh 500 pounds.
That's the fear. He said he
That's
would
a
weigh
direct
500 pounds. Yeah.
Direct. You know what's cool? Do you know what the best part about that was? Someone on Nuggets Twitter tweeted a photo out of Jokic today walking around the park.
Ooh, should we take a
Underweight. Underweight.
Hold on. Let's get the
Where is
photo
it?
going.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, there he
There's
is.
God. Oh man, we got a second. It's like 1 second.
All
clip of
400
God.
You know, Matt Moore always calls Jokic a
Yeah, we gotta
bird,
see that
and
again.
for the first time in this clip, I'm seeing it. That
He
is
does
a
have
big
little
bird.
bit of a bird body.
That's just a big bird.
Body. Let's see it one more time. Come on, Kale. I just want to. I haven't seen him in 2 months. Just
I know.
glimpse.
Does that look like 500 pounds to you?
There's
No.
500 pounds of bag.
I'll tell you guys what I have heard from someone close to the team is that Nikola Jokic has been taking this workout program very seriously during the quarantine.
go!
I love it.
Let's
I love
go!
I'm
You know what's
telling
gonna
it was the
age
final
well?
piece. It was the final piece. I can't wait for this.
One thing's gonna that Jokic hype pod is going to age very well. That athletic top 30 list,
Not going to age so well
not
at
so
all.
much.
And it's a thing, right? And it's funny because, and I'm not, I guess I am kind of ragging on
You
the
are
Athletic
ragging
here,
on
but
them.
no, I am
Yeah.
ragging on them. But here's
Yeah.
the thing is, like, we have all these outlets, the big outlets that are just like, you know what, we got to cover the goddamn coast. Colorado it doesn't matter. They don't matter. Like, and then it's like, okay,
true, by the
we're
way.
going to create a series of networks where we're covering every beat and everybody can get it. And they're like, let's just talk about who's good. Is Jokic good? Fuck no, he's not good. Get out of here. It's the same thing. Like, everywhere you go for these outlets is just the exact same story.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't get like for real heated over these things, but I am heated in the sense of just like, you too, Brute.
Et tu, athlete.
So now let's go to our colleague Nick Cosmer, the Athletic. Nick, just kidding.
So,
Love
yeah,
it.
so
Hey, Kendra,
Adam-
that's great.
I love
But
that.
they had no part in this.
I know.
They had
Adam
no
was-
part in
I'm
this.
kidding.
Adam was
They weren't
fired
invited,
out of a
apparently.
Adam was fired out of a cannon before this podcast started, and then he drank a whiskey during the first part of it. So
This stuff is so dumb. Like, I'm telling you, like, I can feel it. The Nuggets are winning the title this year, and it's going to be the only scenario where there's like, it doesn't really count.
oh, for sure. Oh, I mean, can you even imagine how diminished that accomplishment would be if the Nuggets were to actually pull through and make it?
Oh, I
this?
can't wait. It's going to be the tiniest championship ever.
Oh.
They won't even give a full-sized
No,
Larry O.B.
no.
It's going to be a little like novelty gift shop Disney World version of the Larry O.B.
Nuggets fans would
ESPN
have a great excuse for not showing up to the parade, though.
Oh,
There's
shut
a
up!
cop
You
out
shut
built
up!
in, right?
Shut up, Frank! Shut up!
get outta here.
The worst part is that ESPN would intersperse still images of Jurassic Park with the Nuggets. Like they would try and milk that Toronto thing as long as possible.
There'd
Yeah,
be
you
a
know what?
big
Root
story
for it.
about
If-
LeBron
if-
coming in second and be like, it was an impressive run that the Lakers came second, only to some other team that we won't. mention.
Asterisks. Yeah, right.
You got to embrace this as a Nuggets fan, because just cling to the fact that we've been right the whole time. We will continue
Yeah,
to
of
be
course.
right.
But nobody will acknowledge that we're right. That's the
Makes it
downside
that
of
much
all
more
this.
delicious.
So
With
Giannis
each first team All NBA.
Giannis
you got the perfect
Antetokounmpo,
shirt
too,
on.
who's, by the way, Jokic's age, so already let's just throw that age thing out. Devin Booker, the very accomplished Devin Booker, who has led his team to victory year after year, carried different lineups. He's number 4 on this list. I'm going through these guys. I'm
You see
sorry.
this?
Yeah,
We gotta keep that.
wait, pull that
Man,
back up.
Adebayo.
Pull that
Pull
back
back.
up, Kale.
What did we have?
He wants to defend Jokic's honor with us.
Oh, man, Keith. We should.
I'm putting Keith on my Mount Rushmore of DNBA show
He's
guests.
the Mount.
Yes.
Are you kidding me? Mount Rushmore's too inclusive. We need a more
Yeah.
unique
One
award
face
for him.
Rushmore.
Bam
Yeah.
Adebayo. Bam Adebayo, number 7 on this list.
Honestly,
A
way
center.
less egregious than a lot of this.
It is less agree. Oh yeah, there's some names that when you get down there. I mean, Chris Stapps. I thought we answered this years back, but I guess we're back on the Chris Stapps thing. Like, he clearly has led his teams to victory time and time again. Trey Young, who's just again like he's proven it, but by being on the worst team in the NBA for 2 straight years.
Yeah,
Klay
Yep.
Thompson's on this list, which is funny because he's going to be 35, and I love Klay. It's just a 35-year-old guy who's. Oh, and look, he's a phenomenal third best player, but like, what are we talking about here? This is. I'm sorry, I
Rocky
keep going
Balboas.
because this list is so egregious. It's just so like Buddy Hield. Of course, you got to take Buddy Hield. Matisse Thybulle. Matisse Thybulle
Wow.
is on this list.
Matisse Thybulle.
I almost threw my
Matisse
headphones
Thybulle
on.
is on this list of like, what are we talking about here, guys? Matisse Thybulle.
Well, I know-
I don't know.
Matisse Thybulle, not
I can't. Every time I scroll further down, it gets more and more amazing. Matisse
Thybulle might not be in the league in 5 years.
But Tyler Hero is a guy that's a guy is definitely better than Jokic,
Oh my God.
according to the Athletic. DeAndre Ayton, of course, who's just trying to become Jokic, and then Mitchell Robinson, which
Let's show.
what can we? Yeah, let's show the video. Kale, do we have it lined
Yeah.
here? I'll play it,
Well,
'cause
to be
I don't know
fair,
if you
Mitchell
know-
Robinson.
Here we go. Somebody saw this video. Look at this video. Oh my God. Oh, triple cross. Oh yeah. Okay.
Look at those handles. Look at that.
Those handles. He's playing some dude at the YMCA who just doesn't move and is like, yeah, this move doesn't work.
Well, look, high usage player Mitchell Robinson really needs to be working on this skill set. Look, I don't want to dunk. I wouldn't dunk on these other writers if they picked Pascal Siakam or something. That's a judgment call. But like, this is a little different. All
I'm
these
gonna
names.
put Jokic slander all over the timeline with fake aliases just to see Adam
Just to
get into
get me
this.
riled up.
Dude, this is how we get the best out of Adam, for
It's
sure.
just I don't
That's
know.
all I
Like, what
need.
are we doing anymore? And this, I heard somebody say, well, like, we're trying to construct a roster, and what do you need at all 5 positions? I don't know, one of the 7 best players in the league. That's just
I'll
a
take
thing
the
I could think
best
you could use.
center. I'll take the best
Yeah,
center.
yeah, like a
For
guy
sure.
that just makes literally every player he's ever played with a lot better. Like significant. Maybe that's a thing you need. I don't know. Jesus, man. But maybe you need Mitchell Robinson. Maybe that's what you need.
A little flash. I mean, is there anything wrong with little flash?
Who
I
says
said, look at this
no?
list.
Jokic-
Somebody actually
Jokic-
took the time to make this and was like, let's think about this. Look at Basketball
you-
Reference.
you know
These
what?
are friends of mine too. I'm really shitting on
That's
them.
the,
but
that's
I'm
the
sorry.
best part about that is that when we made a list, I spent almost no time on it, and I feel like I came to a better conclusion.
Look, I'm
Mitchell
wrong.
Robinson.
I'm wrong all the time, and you got to remember in
It's
this
true.
industry,
Brendan
it's
is
easy to
wrong
pile
literally
on
all
people
the
when
time.
they're up, but this is just one of those times for this.
I just want to make sure that people are always wrong about Jokic. It's the same guy. There's
Yeah.
the same bias, and they're uncomfortable biases, if we're being honest, for another day.
Well, with that, let's transition to something a little more light and fun. I think it's time to play the steps. Caleb, am I right?
steps.
Do we have a
Let's do
contestant here?
We
Adam.
do. Peter!
Oh, it's Peter.
Oh,
Peter, what's up?
man, Peter.
Peter, I've got good news for you. Adam and I did not confer with each other before the show about the steps, so I have no idea if we have questions ready. Or
Can you
Ready to
hear
fact check Harrison.
Brendan and Adam? Can you hear everybody?
How's the audio?
all right, good
Peter,
stuff.
Sorry, Peter. What do you make? First of all, before we move on, I'm sorry, I'm not moving us on yet. What do you make of Jokic not being one of the 30 players selected in this, like, and we're not even talking like 10
The
years from now,
definitive
5
list.
years from now.
Of the NBA.
I think it's a bad take.
Yeah.
So I looked this up. This is a good stat. You remember when Jokic was having a slump at the beginning of the year?
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was averaging 15, 10, and 5.
Oh, loser.
Yeah, there's a slump though.
It was a slump for him. The only other player in the league with at least 15, 10, and 5 was Giannis during that time. Like, the only guy who can do that. So,
Peter just ready to
Just
go.
coming in swinging. I hope he wins. I hope he wins a lot of money on this.
this is the kind of stuff I think.
There you go.
Peter, I'm putting up $100,000 of my own money for this edition of the steps.
Don't do that.
Okay.
Don't do that.
Well, he's not getting that. We can be break. I've seen these questions.
Do you have the steps questions vote?
I do now that you just dropped me that link. If you could just stall
Do
for
you want
me.
to just like bookmark that?
I keep
link?
forgetting that I host the show, so that's the biggest.
We are ready here. I'll take number 1 while you set up the Google Doc there. Number 1. All right, Peter, we're rooting for you here. Which
not.
player on the Nuggets scored the most total points this season?
A top 30 player, I would guess.
It's a safe bet. Not a top 30 player, actually. Not a top 30 player.
Gotta be Jokic.
That is correct.
Yeah!
Not a
Most
trick
hints
question.
we've ever given a single person. That was a lot of hints. But we
Well,
just
he's
wanted to
supposed to
make
have
the
a-
joke.
He's supposed to have a helper. He has no helper.
Oh, that's a great point. We don't have Keith here to help him. Brendan, are you ready?
Oh yeah, sorry. Number 2. Which Nuggets player came out with a rap album last summer?
Can I be his
Wow.
helper?
Will Barton?
That's correct. Well, Will Barton III, but we'll accept it.
Oh,
Somebody else could have done it. We just don't know. That was the most popular rap album.
yeah. But that's
Now, Peter, when it comes to the steps,
No other Nuggets player put out a rap album last summer.
but
that's a little different.
when it comes to the steps, Peter, y'all can hang the banners, but I just want the bag. Oh no, how's that go?
We'll move on now to question 3. Which player did the Nuggets sign to a 3-year, $90 million contract in 2017?
Paul Millsap.
That is correct. He's on fire.
Let's go, Peter!
Nice.
Unbelievable,
Pacific Northwest representing.
unbelievable.
Uh-oh.
This is Murray here too.
Oh,
That's
gonna get a little Murray flurry, maybe.
Question
Fighting
number,
Hair looks different than I remember.
question number 4. Which of these NBA All-Stars has Michael Malone not coached? So I'm going to name 4 All-Stars. You got to tell me which one Malone has not coached. Stephen Curry, James Harden, LeBron Raymond James, or Chris Paul?
That's a tough one, dude.
This is a really tough one.
I believe. I know
Luckily,
the-
you don't have anyone helping you.
Oh man. So it's not Curry and it's not LeBron. He's coached both of them. Is it Harden?
Oh, he got it!
He got it!
The tension's building. Dude, does he get stickers now? Or is this the sticker question?
Are we
I
on?
forget.
What did we get?
This is 5. We're on 5.
Well,
now.
no, he needs to get this one right.
Okay,
Peter.
for the stickers that I'm not going to let you have.
He can have him vote. It's not up to you.
Which Nuggets player won the Rising Stars Game MVP award in 2017?
2017. Oh, I get it now.
Jokic?
Oh, he's out of here!
Out of here.
Murray.
He's out of here.
Jokic, Rising Star? He's already a star. They won't even call him a top
It was
30
Jamal
guy.
Murray. And do you guys remember that game? Remember when he hit like 7 threes in a row? Look at Murray Center's on
Murray
that.
Center is beside him, so
He's like, I was
Murray
made for
Center's
this
was
one.
chomping at the bit.
I was made for this. Oh, look at that. Look at this. Got a little announcement.
I'm not gonna lie, guys. We
Pretty
buried
close.
the lead on today's show. We kind of half hit it on an ad read, but tomorrow the DNVR bar opens.
Reopen.
Hey, it's not gonna be quite what we all expected. We're of course gonna be adhering to the safety guidelines and regulations, but the DNVR bar will be open, limiting our occupancy and operating on a first come first served basis. Our staff will be wearing masks, and our restaurant is set up for proper social distancing and all other state guidelines. Come say hi. I mean it when I say it. We have missed you.
I know.
Oh,
I missed
God.
us. I missed all of you.
I miss you guys.
Dude, I
I
missed
missed
see you.
everybody.
I see you every day, and I actually don't miss you guys at all now that I'm saying it out loud.
I'm
but-
over Eric, actually, but I'm gonna be at the bar tomorrow. If any of you listening, any of you guys want to stop by, I can't wait, man. Can't wait.
Can't wait. Can't wait.
wait.
Keith was awesome.
Can't
This was a
wait.
great show. Share it with
Yeah.
your friends and family.
Yeah, shout out Keith. Hey, shout out the rest of you for rocking with us. We appreciate you sticking with us.
Throw it
Sounds
a
like
retweet. Throw it
sounds
a
like,
rating. Throw it a-
basketball-
Throw it everything.
basketball's around the corner, friend. So we'll talk some more hoops this week, Wednesday and Thursday at 8:00 p.m. Mountain Time, and of course, we're on air at noon on Friday. Talk to you tomorrow. Peace.
Adios, everybody.